has to thank the one person who believed in him from the start, whose quiet support was the wind beneath his wings. The glare from the stage lights hit his polished Italian shoes, creating a single blinding pinpoint of white in the cavernous ballroom. From the back of the room, near the exit, I smiled. He had no idea what he had just done. I met Zane during a portfolio review in our final year of design school. He was all charisma and sweeping gestures, presenting slick mock-ups that were beautiful but functionally hollow. I was the quiet one in the corner, with meticulously coded, fully working prototypes that looked functional. We were opposites who saw a shortcut to success in each other. Our first collaboration, a small app for local artists, was electric. I remember one night, sprawled on the floor of my tiny studio apartment, fueled by lukewarm pizza and ridiculously expensive Kyoto-style cold brew, watching him sketch a user interface on a whiteboard while I debugged a complex payment gateway. It felt like we were building a new world. The first red flag was small, almost invisible. A crucial software subscription was about to lapse, a $300 charge. He'd left his wallet at home, he said, patting his empty pockets with a theatrical sigh. I covered it. He repaid me a week later, not with cash, but with a gushing speech to a potential client about my genius. I felt a flicker of unease, a sense that my contribution was being converted into his currency, praise. The next 2 years were a blur of creation. Our project, an intuitive journaling app we called Scribe, started gaining traction. My studio became our unpaid office. My custom-built server rigged the backbone of our operation. We celebrated our first 50,000 users at a Michelin-starred restaurant, Per Se, a place I could never afford on my own. Zane ordered a bottle of Chateau Margaux, gesturing to the sommelier like he'd been doing it his whole life. "This is it, Tessa," he'd said, raising his glass. Beginning of everything. The cracks began as hairline fractures. He'd take investor meetings alone. "You hate the schmoozing," he'd say, "and you're needed on the code." It was true, so I let it go. Then I was accidentally CC'd on an email where he referred to me as his lead developer, not co-founder. When I questioned him, he was smooth, apologetic. "A slip of the tongue, Tess, you know you're the heart of this thing." I rationalized it. He was the face, I was the engine. Maybe that's just how it had to be. Discovery came on a Tuesday in March. I was searching our shared cloud drive for a W-9 form and found a folder I'd never seen before, named with a single period, a classic hiding technique. It was password protected. On a whim, I typed in the name of his golden retriever, Zeus 123. It opened. Inside wasn't just a folder, it was a parallel universe. A complete set of incorporation documents for Scribe LLC, registered 3 months prior. Sole officer and owner, Zane. There were also wire transfer confirmations, moving sums from our joint business account to a new private one, a total of $88,450. The blood drained from my face. I spent the next 4 weeks in a state of quiet, meticulous fury. I hired a digital forensics expert, a woman named Ms. Vance, who helped me pull every deleted chat log, every original file creation date from my server. Evidence was damning. I had written the first line of Scribe's code on my personal machine 10 months before his fraudulent LLC ever existed. The breaking point came in a sterile, glass-walled conference room at OmniCorp Ventures. We were there to pitch for our Series A funding. I walked in to find Zane already seated with their executive team, a smug, proprietary air about him. The lead partner, a formidable woman named Ms. Sterling, looked from him to me, confused. Zane stood up, his face a mask of practiced sympathy. "Tessa, I'm glad you're here. We need to discuss your transition. The project has simply outgrown your initial contributions, and we're moving in a more professional direction. We're prepared to offer you a generous severance for your early work." The hum of the projector filled the sudden, dead silence. His words hung in the air, thick and suffocating. In that moment, watching the investors nod with understanding, the plan didn't just begin, it crystallized, fully formed and diamond-hard. I noticed a detail on the paperwork Zane had left on the table, the date his LLC was officially filed. April 14th. The exact same day he'd insisted we celebrate our 1-year work anniversary at Per Se, all on the company card. He had been toasting our partnership with my own money, on the very day he legally stole my life's work. That irony would be his undoing. Retained an intellectual property lawyer named Mr. Richter, a man whose quiet demeanor hid a predatory instinct for legal warfare. His advice was simple. Let him think he's won. Let him get comfortable. Richter's fees were astronomical. I had to sell my vintage Leica M6 camera, the one thing I'd inherited from my grandfather, just to cover the initial retainer. The waiting was the hardest part. One afternoon, Zane called, his voice oozing false bonhomie. "Hey, just checking in. Hope the job hunt is going well. Any luck?" My hand shook, but my voice was ice. "It's going great," I replied. "Thanks for asking." I hung up, my heart hammering against my ribs. I had almost let the bitterness show. Richter and I assembled the arsenal. 217 text messages, where Zane called it our app. Server logs timestamped with my IP address showing my creation of the core architecture. The forensic report from Ms. Vance. Bank statements detailing the illegal transfers. and the incorporation documents from both our original partnership and his sham company. The final, beautiful piece of evidence was an ironic coincidence. The server I maintained automatically logged every single remote login. Had a record of Zane's IP address downloading the final, complete source code at 4:15 p.m. on April 14th, just hours before he took me to that celebratory dinner. As a decoy, we did nothing. We let him submit Scribe to the Innovate Forward Tech Conference for their prestigious Innovator of the Year award. He was walking directly into the trap, convinced he was about to receive his crown. The night of the awards ceremony was a blur of cocktail dresses and forced smiles. I stood in the back with Richter, a ghost at the feast. When the announcer called his name, Zane practically floated to the stage. He accepted the heavy glass trophy, his smile incandescent. That's when he delivered his speech, thanking the anonymous supporter who was the wind beneath his wings. As the applause began, the massive LED screen behind him, which had been displaying the Scribe logo, flickered. Logo was replaced by a side-by-side comparison, the incorporation date of our partnership versus his fraudulent LLC. A low murmur went through the audience of 500 tech luminaries. Zane's smile tightened into a rictus. His eyes darted around, searching for the source of the glitch. Then the screen changed again. It showed a timeline of the wire transfers, each withdrawal from our account and deposit into his. The murmur grew louder. His face went from confused to panicked. Final image was the killer proof. On the left, the server log showing his IP address downloading the source code on April 14th. On the right, a screenshot of his own Instagram post from that same night, a picture of the two of us at Per C clinking champagne glasses. The caption read, "Celebrating 1 year of Scribe with my amazing partner. Blessed." The hypocrisy was so perfect, so absolute, the room fell into a stunned silence. Miss Sterling of Omnicorp was in the front row, her expression like carved granite. Zane just stood there, speechless, the trophy looking foolishly heavy in his hand. As he opened his mouth to stammer an excuse, a process server, impeccably dressed, walked calmly up the center aisle and handed him a thick legal envelope. I didn't have to say a word. I just turned and walked away. The fallout was immediate and spectacular. TechCrunch had the story by midnight. The lawsuit was a formality. Faced with incontrovertible digital evidence, he settled before it ever saw a courtroom. Judgment forced him to relinquish all claims to Scribe and repay the $88,450 he stole, plus damages and all my legal fees. His reputation was incinerated. I saw a photo of him on LinkedIn 6 months later. He was a freelance brand consultant. He was standing in front of a WeWork sign, holding a paper cup of coffee, the self-assured swagger completely gone. He looked smaller. My renewal was quieter. I secured a smaller, smarter round of funding and rebuilt the Scribe team with people I trusted. My new office is downtown, a clean, bright space with a view of the bay. It's peaceful. The work is all that matters now. Last week, my new lead investor asked if anyone had helped me in the beginning. I told her I once had a partner whose quiet support was the wind beneath my wings. Then I showed her how I learned to fly on my own.